Asking for help is not a weakness. I made this post on social media the other day, and immediately, right away, the comments that came in involved gear, which is kind of funny because I wasn't even thinking about gear when I made the post. I was thinking about other things. But we can go ahead and address the gear thing first because, yeah, there's stuff to talk about here. Before we go any further, hi, I'm Brian. Welcome to my channel. I'm shooting upstairs for a change because it's very hot here in Milwaukee today. The air conditioning is incredibly loud. So I'm trying to make it a little quieter for you. Although you're going to hear the fish tank, you're going to hear my snoring French bulldog and maybe a cat or two, and perhaps some traffic from outside. But yeah, I'm doing my best here for you. Anyway, as far as the gear thing goes, I can kind of understand it. Some people just don't want people to touch their equipment at all. Other people don't really want help on the setup and breakdown because we all have systems, right? And I get that. Look, I was working with a guy several years ago who was very helpful on getting equipment in and out and helping me out when I needed it. But at the end of the night, he would take my cables, wad them up, and shove them in my cable bag. Like, what are you doing? He said, look, let's just get out of here as quick as we can. You can sort all of that out later. It's like, all right, even as a disabled person, it's going to take me a minute to wrap that cable. It's going to take me a half an hour to go through this cable bag and unwrap all of these wadded up cables and tend to this rat's nest. That's something I have to do between jobs that I shouldn't have to do. So I get it. We all have a system, and sometimes we just don't want people messing with our DJ equipment or even performing on it. Fine, I get it. I totally understand that. But let's take it a step further with gear and talk about gear selection, for instance. Do you know how many people I talk to on a weekly basis who tell me about a speaker they're considering buying, and then they proceed to tell me about how many watts that powered speaker is, and they're basing their purchasing decision on that? Like watts means something in the grand scheme of things? It does not. If you think watts means anything when it comes to making a powered speaker purchase, you need help whether you know it or not. And that's not opinion, that's a fact. Look, speakers, they're a bit of a mystery for a lot of people, and I totally understand that. And I am not any kind of audio engineer or audio expert. What I can tell you is that when it comes to powered speakers today, with an amp already paired with the speakers that are inside of it, we're not worried about what the power consumption is. We're worried about what the power output is. And the power output is measured in SPL, sound pressure level, and we use decibels for that. So you've got 100 decibel speakers, 110, 120, 123, 127, 130, 136. Look, it matters. That's what matters, and not watts. So maybe you might want some help on that if you're looking at watts, because watts doesn't really mean anything with that. But some people's egos won't let them do that. I know people who tell me things that are obviously wrong. The sky is purple. No, the sky is not purple. The sky is blue. No, it's purple. And they'll argue their way through the sky is purple, even if you can clearly see that it's blue. They double down on the wrongness. I know people like this. It's an ego thing with them. They don't want to be wrong. Even when they're clearly wrong, they will defend their wrongness. It's really strange. Those kind of people maybe don't want help. But look, if you can put your ego aside and get help on things, you're going to be much further ahead than if you just assume you know everything. And even if you're wrong, you're right. That's not serving you well. That's not growth. And maybe you need to reevaluate things. Because, look, being wrong isn't a weakness. Being able to admit you're wrong is a strength. And finding the correct answers is a strength as well. Somebody else suggested that there's too much help out there as it is. All the trade secrets are exposed for any high school student to learn. Every song is available to stream. You don't have to look for the music anymore. The equipment is relatively inexpensive, easier to set up, easier to break down, easier to carry. You don't have to build things like you used to. A high school student really could go out there and market themselves as the greatest DJ in the world. In the meantime, seasoned pros have to compete with those DJs now, and whatever their price point happens to be. Look, I'm of the opinion that trade secrets have always been BS. Back in the old days, there were record stores that would only sell cool records to certain DJs, and they had the advantage over other DJs. In fact, what they would do sometimes is take a marker and mark off the label, who the artist was and such, so nobody could even poke in the booth to see what the song was. They were hiding that information from other DJs or anybody. That was their secret weapon. A song nobody else had. And I'm thinking to myself, if all you have is something that no one else has, you're kind of lame. If that's your superpower is not strong. It's very weak. And if all I have to do is take that record and start playing it to be just as good as you, you're not that great. Any secret, as a matter of fact, that comes out in this business, any technique or whatever, look, if all you have is something that someone could easily learn and duplicate, you're not that strong of a DJ. You just know something the others don't. You haven't shared it. We are artists, and what we do, I believe, is an art form. Where I don't think we're musicians. I do think we're artists, though. We all should be doing it a little different, in my opinion. There are a whole bunch of DJs out there who are all doing stuff the same way as a lot of the other DJs. A whole bunch of them. It's the monkey see, monkey do thing. They're all kind of the same and interchangeable. It's very homogenized. But once you've been doing this for a while, you come into your own as an artist, and that's when you shine. And let's say that you're competing with these younger DJs who are out there doing their thing, and you feel like that it didn't take a lot of work to get where they were. They still probably know something you don't. Maybe it's marketing. Maybe you can learn from them. Maybe they can help you, because you know stuff they don't, and you can help them in exchange. There are things that you know from experience that they don't. You can have every song in the world, and if you don't know what to do with it, they're useless to you. Absolutely useless. If you are subscribed to a service that tells you what songs to play, then you're not that strong of a DJ, all right? You're just not. If you know what to play for the audience that's in front of you, based on experience, and you're doing something that no one else is doing, yeah, you're an artist. You're a strong DJ. And you're better than those who need it spoon-fed to them. Remember that. And don't dismiss what they're doing. Look at what they're doing. Learn from it. There's help there. You can get help from that. You can learn from that. The day you think you know it all is the day you just need to just be done, because there's nothing else to learn. If you can admit that you don't know everything, then you are growing. You're always growing. You should always be growing and evolving. I'm always growing and evolving. I'm always changing what I'm doing, because there's so much to learn, and the audience changes and the music changes. How do you get help? You get help a lot of ways. A lot of people post in forums, and they'll get a lot of answers from a lot of different DJs, and they're not all going to be the same. They're all going to be different. You're going to have to weed through those and figure out which one you like, or if you like any of them at all. I like to call people that I know and who know me and my art and how I do things, and ask them directly and have a conversation with somebody who I trust. I may not like their answer, but I'll probably learn something from the conversation. I talk to colleagues all the time, on a weekly basis. I'm talking to DJs from all over the world and getting their opinions on things and getting ideas from them, or learning how to do things that I just don't know how to do. For instance, I'm not good with computers. I'm really not. I mean, I'm competent to make things work, but when it comes to tweaking things and making things work the way that I want them to work, I have to go to others and get their expertise, because that's what they do well. And they may come to me with something that I do well, and I can help them out with that. So we can help each other in that regard. I can tell you that there was a situation where I was having a really difficult time getting help, where it got to the point I eventually had to go ahead and help myself. And that's when I built the first small little micro system 14 years ago when I had the stroke. Anybody that I talked to on social media, in person, didn't matter, said it couldn't be done. So you just need to get somebody to haul your gear for you. Don't do this, it's not going to work. Well, what about smaller speakers? Nope, smaller speakers aren't going to work. You need big speakers. Well, what about wireless lighting? That's not going to work. You're going to have to get different lighting. Well, what about a small mixing board? Well, that's not going to work. You need a big giant controller. I had to go find out how to do this on my own. I had to build it on my own and try it. I did get help though, and I got help from retailers and manufacturers who let me try things to see if they would work. I had an idea. They may have dismissed my idea as, look, it's not going to work, but go ahead and give it a try, kind of thing. Eventually I made it all work, and the system has grown and gotten better over the years. None of it's the same. None of it. Not one piece of that equipment is the same as it started out as. It changes. I find better alternatives to what I had to make it easier or better or whatever. I had to kind of help myself on that one. And it's going to be that way sometimes. But it still doesn't hurt to look for some opinions on things and bounce ideas off of people. That's how we all grow. So don't be afraid to ask for help. I am here to help. When I put a video up, I'm trying to help. That's all I'm trying to do. Way back when I started YouTube, I can only describe it as like what public access television used to be in the United States, where people were just making things in the studio and it was getting broadcast over the air just because they wanted to do it. Today there's a lot of money involved, there's a lot of production involved, and it doesn't have quite the same spirit it used to. So you're not always going to get the straightforward answers you're looking for sometimes. You're looking for someone trying to make a buck. Know who those people are. Know when you're being bamboozled. Know when you're getting help. See if you can recognize that, because that's going to save you a lot of grief. Detect the BS when you hear the BS. I'll close this video. Thanks for watching. We'll try to get more videos up soon. We'll see you next time. Practice and enjoy.